Boy, I'm nothing if not a trooper for always getting these out on time, huh? Recap's always a day out after the quest. It was fine when the stories were like 2-3 hours, but man, recently these Amphoreus stories, 6 hours! This is a 23-page script I typed in one sitting. How do I do it? What's my secret? Drugs. Also, is this company going under? What is on my screen right now? Anyway, Anaxa reveals that Amphoreus is in a time loop. The Chrysos heirs of the last loop are the current Titan gods of Amphoreus, and the current Chrysos heirs will become the new Titan gods at the Era Nova. Why? Lycurgus Lygus' entire existence, that of an emanator of the erudition. Why? Castorice revealed Hyacines, the Chrysos heirs bearing the core flame of Phagusha, is dead. Why? March 7th is having her memories hijacked. Why? The Flame Reaver is back. Why? Fully the Remembrance just gazed at all of Amphoreus. Why? The destruction is the third path affecting Amphoreus, as there is currently a Lord Ravager shackled on Amphoreus. Who is it, and why? Many important questions, my friends, that we'll have to answer in the future, but good gravy, look at the time! Jesus, jumping jalapenos! We gotta get started or we'll be here all day! The story starts with us looking at a dead child. Thinking again about the first prophecy, all shall bid farewell to one, and that person alone will witness the miracle. Such is the will of fate. I wonder if we'll learn more about this later, if this is some type of world-bearing fate. I wonder who's gonna inherit the world-bearing core flame. We wonder if we take Orynyx's time trial, if we'll be a part of the prophecy, and then the shot switches over to Googly Eyes and Castorice, where, by the grace of God, the blind bitch somehow read a book Castorice gave to her. They begin discussing Aglaya's hatred for Anaxa before eventually reaffirming that Xerxes picked Anaxa. When Castorice asks what Aglaya plans to do with Anaxa, she says she'll give him time to find a way to remove the core flame from his body, but if he starts moving shiesty, she's gonna step in. It's then we pull up, say we'll take the trial, and Aglaya, she then leaves. We ask Castorice what she was doing here, and she says talking with Aglaya of a book, before revealing the book to us. It's an allegory, and it's about a place named Styxia that faced off against an evil dragon that swallowed the city's princess, and when the dragon was finally brought down, the warriors cut open its stomach and found the princess dead. This prompted the queen to hire an alchemist to bring the princess back to life using the dragon's flesh. It worked, but when she came back to life, she lost all her memories, turned into another evil dragon, and brought Styxia to ruin. Touching kid story. I meant like it's a soft-hearted, upbeat story, man. That sentence, touching kid story, dangerous sentence that is, man. Playing with fire, huh? Regardless, Castorice too thinks it's a touching story because the author, or something. Eventually, she asks us about the rosy celestial maiden who's become famous via word of mouth all throughout Amphoreus. We know this maiden as March 7th. Castorice says she's interested in the stories of the worlds beyond the sky, but cuts herself short. We then go and link up with Donhung and Phainon, who are discussing a citizens' assembly being held by the Council of Elders, who are essentially just the city's government. Some context, they have for now given authority to the Chrysos heirs to govern, but every few years the citizens' assembly is held to discuss this matter and others, such as whether the Flame Chase journey should continue. It's at these assemblies that Anaxa has always previously voted to end the journey. Well, for now the journey continues, opposition to it grows, and looks like now's their best chance to end the Flame Chase journey thanks to Anaxa, who bears the core flame of reason, and given he and Aglaya hate one another, the Council of Elders could be looking to make a deal with Anaxa. Phainon, however, says he has faith in Anaxa making the right choice, and will discuss with Aglaya. He then hands us this letter, I guess, that tells us more, and boy, was this shit a boring read. Wasn't nothing good in there, man, let me tell you. We then sleep, go to the vortex to take the trial, and enter the trial. It's then Phainon seizes the moment and tells Aglaya they need to talk. We awake to a talking mem.
Right? I think that it's amazing, too. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
But also to a talking Oryx.
Mother.
She's constantly calling out to a mother, but then recognizes us. She says the Sky Father gazed at us, Sky Father being fully their remembrance, but then says Mother is calling for us. We ask for confirmation that the Sky Father refers to Fuli, but she then returns to Neanderthal speech. She says the Sky Father has chosen us, probably referring to us acquiring the power of remembrance. That's something yet to come. We then ask her who Mother is, however, she once again reverts to the Unga Bunga. It's then we hear the cry of a baby, and Ornyx says, Mother is no longer responding. I wonder if there's someone who's connected to Amphoreus and is unresponsive right now. We brush past all that and tell Ornyx we've come for a reason, and that is to bear the responsibility of time, to let Ornyx rest. Ornyx begins listing off our traits, strength, willpower, tenacity, but then says we're missing something. For but a brief moment, Ornyx becomes possessed by the soul of my father and says we have no future. We become dazed and confused. Ornyx continues saying we should be gone already. However, fully gazing at us kept us tethered to this world. However, the moment we entered Amphoreus, we died. All that remains of us are walking memories. The trial ends abruptly, but Ornyx says that someone's got to inherit the authority of time and entrusts it to us before telling us to find our future before it's gone in 15 days. We awake back in the real world, and Donhung says the trial was a success. Mem told everyone what happened, which prompts Donhung to tell us the truth of what happened when we entered Amphoreus. Nikador's spear struck the cabin, which severely injured the Trailblazer, who was then put in critical condition. Whilst being carried out by Donhung, out of nowhere, the fucking imbibitor Lune got put to rest by a falling rock, and when he came to, we were alive without a scratch on us. We go to find Castorice, because Thanatos is a name that keeps popping up, but when we check the garden, she ambushes us. She puts her hand on our face because this company really wants you to pull for her. Apparently our death was not thorough, and Castorice confirms she feels nothing. She realizes it's because of our dead states that we were able to touch her way back when with no consequences. She then says she's trying to find where our soul went, but that requires more touching, so up and at 'em. She says our soul is roaming, which ain't the worst, because it means, Thanatos ain't got it yet. She says she promises to find Thanatos, take their core flame, and give us back our life. Alrighty. We then go to check up on us by visiting Aglaya and Phainon, who are kicking themselves for never having studied Midamos' undying body while he was here. Aglaya then states if there's one person in Amphoreus who knows where Thanatos is, it's Cipher, the Chrysos heir bearing the core flame of trickery. She then leaves us with a parting message. Anaxa has made contact with the Council of Elders. We then swap shots over to Anaxa, who's in a lovely space. He says he remembers. He calls it a dream and then asks a passerby where they are and who rules over this place. The person responds, Thanatos, which prompts Anaxa to question if he's in the Netherrealm. But the person says they aren't in the Netherrealm because the Netherrealm doesn't exist. Death has rejected them all. As he's about to hear a voice speak from beyond, he hears Xerxes, who welcomes him back to the mortal world and comments his consciousness is dissipating faster than expected as the core flame is incompatible with a human body. Anaxa obviously is on the brink of death, with the core flame being the only thing keeping him alive at this point. If you remove it, he dies, but even now his mind slips to the other realm every so often. Xerxes states Anaxa has 15 days left to live, which is the same time period Ornyx gave us to find our future. What are the odds? Xerxes asks if Anaxa really plans to betray Aglaya, but he says he never saw eye to eye with her in the first place, so what the fuck is there to betray? We go to meet the messenger for the council, and it's this odd-looking feller. Xerxes is caught off guard by what's apparently an holy shit, look at that word! Antikytherian, stating they're a rare sight ever since the Chrysos War. The thing then addresses Xerxes, revealing he can see and hear her, but then introduces himself as Lycurgus or Lygus, holder of an honorary position within the Council of Elders, but more importantly, he's a Theoros, which is Greek for observer or envoy. I wonder for whom? He then reveals that Aglaia is listening in on their conversation with her dastardly golden threads that he can cut off should Anaxa will it, but Anaxa passes. As we head towards Dawn Cloud, Anaxa begins to wonder if, for the Titans, falling equates to death. Lygus bites and Anaxa continues that while Kefali fell, he's not dead yet, but rather dying. Given Titans exist on a grander scale of space and time, this would naturally extend their passage into death much longer than what mortals experience. Lygus calls the notion interesting, but reminds Anaxa Kefali has been silent for quite some time now. Anaxa states this silence could perhaps be born of arrogance, for why would a god need to explain themselves to mortals? However, Anaxa has an ace up his sleeve to guarantee a response from the Sky Father, and it's Xerxes, family of Kefali. The god would no longer have any reason not to respond to Anaxa, because no one in the history of the universe has ever ignored their siblings. Lygus then asks us, what if Kefali still doesn't respond, to which Anaxa states, then the myths of this land are a joke. Either way, Lygus says he's looking forward to seeing how it goes, but in any case, it's time for us to ascend to Dawn Cloud. Lygus says he's going to inform Elder Kindness of our arrival. In the meantime, Xerxes says she's going to go look for portraits of herself while we walk around to see what the council has been up to, and pretty much just learn that Kindness, the human, is worse than Aglaia, the demigod. And people also really don't like Anaxa because, you know, they're heretical, blasphemer, all that good stuff. Xerxes eventually finds a portrait of herself and calls it abstracts, like the answer to the question she's long been after, her ultimate question: what are we, meaning the Titans? Anaxa calls it ugly, which causes Xerxes to reveal she's aware that Anaxa tried to refine her soul when the grove was attacked. Anaxa then asks why then she saved him knowing this, and she says it's, because he's quirky, and because he's quirky, he must surely be meeting with the Council of Elders for more than just protection from Aglaia ripping the core flame out of his body like a fish. He then says just look at his memories, and Xerxes goes bet and begins scanning the nigga's brain starting at 1 year old. She finds a memory of Anaxa hugging a Dromos doll to sleep, which he says was given to him by his sister. At age 5, Xerxes realizes what happens to Anaxa's family, the Black Tide. Little Anaxa then prayed to all the Titans, Xerxes included, but didn't get a response, which prompted Anaxa to begin studying alchemy. While at the Grove, Anaxa would learn of Thelesis' theory of a soul, as well as the idea that life and matter also stem from the soul. It's because of this Anaxa assumed that if all living beings come from the same origin, why couldn't he just sacrifice himself to resurrect his family? We then get a shot of a teenage Anaxa with his teacher, Empanadas, who's laying into Anaxa for doing something taboo that could wind up with him burned at the stake. He demands to know where Anaxa's sister is now, as she must be sent away before others learn that she was brought back to life. But Anaxa clarifies she's still dead. All he did was sacrifice one eye to get one more look at her. Equivalence exchange. Empanada says never to do that again, and Anaxa says that's okay. He'll just go back to studying souls, as he now sees they are just the tip of the iceberg, and he will turn this farcical world upside down. Back in the present, while Xerxes now realizes the truth behind Anaxa's eye patch, she says she's no idea how this relates to his plan regarding the council, and so he calls her stupid before expecting Xerxes to reveal a secret about herself, cause equivalent exchange. Xerxes admits she doesn't know shit about her past, and the soldier then interrupts, telling us that Elder Cainus is ready to meet with us. We meet with her, and Anaxa immediately tells her to call off the assassins, which she does. Anaxa then just begins, subtly flaming the bitch, but they begin their meeting anyway, and Cainus reveals that in 15 days, the Citizens' Assembly will be held, with the goal of this council simply being MAGA, bitch! Make Amphoreus great again! They want to return Amphoreus to the golden age of the Era Chrysia, a time before the Titans of Calamity descended. Xerxes is caught up in the fact that it's in 15 days, which is the same time Anaxa has to live, and also the same time that we, the Trailblazer, have to find our future. The two then have a fucking showdown, I guess. I don't know. Anaxa is sort of just like, Council, protect me from Aglaia, and in return you'll have the support of the Grove. My core flame, and, this whole shit just, it doesn't really matter, Lygus then interrupts and tells the two Aglaia is currently coming towards the Dawn Cloud. Cainus asks Anaxa if she should hand him over, and he goes, hey, it may be, but if you do, you're losing out on not just my core flame of reason, but Thanatos' core flame of death as well, as he can get Castorice to their side during the assembly. Cainus agrees and takes her leave, which leaves Xerxes really underwhelmed by this whole interaction. Questioning Anaxa's true intentions, he remarks Cainus can give him no more, as what he really seeks can only be granted to him by the true master of the Dawn Cloud, which has always been the Theoros, who in this case is Lygus. We approach Lygus, who immediately states Anaxa could simply have come right to him if all he wanted was an audience with Kefali. Xerxes floats the idea to Lygus that Anaxa could be plotting something nefarious with Kefali. Will he still let him pass knowing this? And Lygus goes, damn straight! To meet with Kefali, we gotta climb a big-ass mountain. We part ways with Lygus before that, who says, hopes we can bring some much-needed change to this world that's on the brink. We warp jump to a lower part of the mountain, but Anaxa begins to show signs of weaknesses, which causes Xerxes to wonder if the debate with Cainus put too much of a strain on his weak body. Anaxa tells her to shut it before, off in the distance, Anaxa spots a translucent Xerxes, but when he instructs Xerxes to look at it, she sees nothing. As we venture onward, we once again run into the Phantom Xerxes, who's speaking with a soldier named Naius about a spear. This causes Anaxa to turn and ask Xerxes if she knows Anaius, but she says no and asks if Anaxa is hallucinating. We continue moving up the mountain and again run into the Naius and Ghost Xerxes, talking about someone named Kaus, who has just become a demigod. Now, given Naius then prompts, let's hope we mean as much as the world to him, that would mean Kaus inherited the world-bearing core flame. Xerxes still hasn't the foggiest what's going on, but Anaxa states these must be the souls of people, which prompts Xerxes to question what she is then, and Anaxa says, fuck knows. We again come across the souls. Ghost Xerxes is now bitching about how big this mountain is, and Naius laughs it off, but states if Amphoreus has a next world, she should work on getting in shape, but she says she'd rather die. After all, she's Calypso of the Seven Sages. This catches Anaxa completely off guard, as he should know of her if she's from the Grove. When he turns to ask Xerxes if she knows the name Calypso, she's no longer there. Anaxa then makes it to the top and says while he doesn't get to ask his question, he's something else in mind. He then slips back to the land of the dead briefly, where he comes across an old scene with Calypso and Naius and someone named Polyxia. They're all there to meet with the Deliverer Kaus, but he's not responding. Calypso asks where Polyxia's sister is, and she says she's tending to some flowers. Calypso then laments the fact that those two sisters are meant to take over Thanatos' divinity. Anaxa is shocked at what he's hearing, because now he can answer Xerxes' ultimate question and once again take over his body, but he's not going to do that, because something far more important has been revealed. Fusing a human soul with a Titan's can replace that Titan. We then swap over to Donhung's POV, who's with Hyacine. They're exploring the grove with the intent to find anything useful, but before going in, Hyacine confirms the Titan trapping us on Amphoreus is Aquila the Sky Titan, and so long as Aquila is alive, soaring the skies, no one can leave Amphoreus. Dan Heng then thinks for a moment and compares Titans with Eons, stating Titans are far closer to humans than they are to Eons. When thinking about the Flame Chase journey, Dan Heng remarks the whole thing sounds awfully familiar to a selection process. The two then go in search and look. Long story short, we uncovered that Anaxa was studying the sky and sky ships brought down by Aquila, which of course is taboo. He was conducting secret experiments and constantly making blasphemous statements such as,
"Are the Titans truly an accurate reflection of what humans think gods should be? Worlds created by gods are indubitably perfect, but what of Amphoreus? Only foolishness and insensitivity everywhere you turn."
Good instinct Anaxa has, though, really. We eventually head to Anaxa's private lab and read his notes. He lists all the Chrysos heirs and states their ancestries have varying connections to the divine, wondering what the golden blood means. Anaxa says he has no connection to the divine, nor does Castorice seemingly have any as well, before revealing she's walked this world for 1,000 years. He then wonders where her powers of death came from. The paper ends with Anaxa attempting to find a way to increase the purity and divinity of divine blood. Hyacine is a bit disturbed. She and the others were seemingly being experimented on by Anaxa for the purpose of divine blood. Another paper reveals Anaxa needs a dying Titan to study, a dying Titan to fuse a soul with, as they are the perfect subjects. Hyacine and Dan Heng recognize this as soul transmutation, or using alchemy to reconstruct souls. Hyacine then realizes that the reason Anaxa was in the Luminary Throne was to transmute his soul and fuse himself with Xerxes' core flame, but he failed, and Xerxes chose to save him anyway. This is what she meant earlier by refine my soul. But with Xerxes now incapable, this leaves only one Titan left that Anaxa can fuse his soul with, the dying Titan Kefali. We get another shot of a young Anaxa and Empanadas, who reveals to Xerxes the sky is fake, both in the Grove and in Akama, just projections of day and night from before Aquila closed her eyes. Anaxa then goes on and, just sort of says, this is horseshit, and the Titans are horseshit. His teacher then just goes, you know what, you're right, yeah, bring this whole order down, baby. Back to Anaxa, he's joined by Xerxes once again, and he speaks of Styxia, a land that, when threatened by waves, built dams to keep the ocean titan at bay. Anaxa then sort of just hypes up the fact that he's about to reveal the answer to Xerxes' ultimate question. Castorice then arrives, and he says he can reveal where Thanatos is, but in exchange, equivalent exchange, he'll need something from her too, and she says yes, without even hearing what it is. When speaking of the phantom conversations from earlier, Anaxa says that wasn't Xerxes, but rather Calypso. Xerxes is caught off guard hearing that name, as she states that's just a false name she came up with to fool Castorice. Xerxes pushes back on this, stating she would certainly know of a Calypso under her tree, but Anaxa turns up the heat, pressuring her, stating she must have truly forgotten the memories deep within her soul before revealing the truth. The fallen heroes, e.g. Calypso, Naias, and Polyxia, are the mortal versions of the gods they became. Gods didn't come from nowhere, because they came from humans. Before Xerxes was the god of wisdom, she was Calypso of the Seven Sages. Xerxes is unimpressed with this answer, as if she was once human, then where did the children of humanity come from? Castorice then intervenes, stating, how the fuck does this tell us where Thanatos is? Anaxa then says he'll let Kefali reveal the answer. We then swap shots to Aglaia, who's telling the Trailblazer and Phainon that Hyacine has told her that Anaxa is planning to do something funny to Kefali's body. We're on the Dawn Cloud, and when Crateros approaches us, speaking of thunder clouds, we invoke Acheron's name, but she's no cloud here.
Packer, what?
Crateros tells us Midamos threw spears at Akama, bearing this warning: the Flame Reaver is back. Our conversation is interrupted by people booing for someone to leave and get the fuck up off the stage. When we go to check out what happened, we find out Aglaia got Goomba stomped by a random person from the Council of Elders in a debate, which Aglaia blames on the fact that she's hardly any humanity left, so she can't relate to humans like she once used to. So she tells Phainon to step it up and get in the game. This causes Kindness to insert herself into the starting lineup and begin her speech with "Mega bitch! Great! Amphoreus! Great! Fuck yeah!" I'm not joking, by the way. This is literally just what the Council of Elders wants. When we ask how the Council of Elders can turn back the hand of time, before long comes Anaxa and Castorice, who joins the side of the Council of Elders. We're caught off guard with Castorice's betrayal, and while Anaxa and Kindness begin speaking, Castorice bears the smile of one who enjoys this so. Kindness says she wants to get rid of death so they no longer ever have to fear the Flame Reaver. Aglaia then intervenes, stating this plan hinges on finding Death's core flame, and Anaxa says, damn straight, Castorice will find the Titan under his guidance. With that, the issue of the Citizens' Assembly has been decided, to suspend or not the flame chase journey. The three of us approach Castorice with intent to kill. You're kidding. She tells us what happened, and it starts with a story told by Polyxia, which is just the one Castorice told us earlier about Styxia and the evil dragon, although this one adds a little bit more detail, like for instance, after the princess was reborn and destroyed the town, the souls of the dead were not allowed to enter the Netherrealm because they were filled with regrets, and were left to wander the mortal realm where they converged and became the River of Souls. This is all a conversation between Polyxia and Calypso, except now both Xerxes and Castorice can see the phantoms. Xerxes is impressed with the resemblance, and then asks how Anaxa is doing this, but he just says, shut up and listen, bitch! Calypso calls the story one of equivalent exchange, and then asks, if she taught Polyxia alchemy, would she try and bring anyone back to life? Polyxia says yes. We swap shots over to the Vortex, where Calypso is unsure if she can complete the Trial of Death. Calypso then reads her fates to her, and which just says she'll wither, and through it the dead will sprout again from the remains and be reborn with the dead flame. Polyxia clarifies that the words demand that between her and her sister, one must die. The trial will only be completed when someone dies at the hands of the other. We see Death is the last missing core flame because Calypso can't make up her mind. We fast forward to Naias sacrificing himself by separating parts of his soul, because damn, that was a good idea. It's then Castorice recognizes Naias as Nicodor's divinity, which confirms one of Anaxa's theories. These heroes are the true forms of the Titans before they became gods. Naias and Nicodor, Calypso and Xerxes, Polyxia, and Thanatos. Meaning all they have to do to find Thanatos is find out where Polyxia went. The three just sort of talk about death and embracing it, and Naias imparts some words of wisdom, stating journeys and epics are only glorious because all things eventually die. Back at the Vortex, Calypso says it's time, and we see Polyxia now joined by her sister, Castorice. Polyxia finds the whole situation unfair and says she should be the one to die and not Castorice, but Castorice says no, and then tells her to do it. Polyxia recalls Calypso's earlier question about bringing someone back, and she says she'll plant the first bud on behalf of Castorice in the New World, before revealing their hometown is Styxia. Polyxia says she'll open the Netherrealm to grant her a second life in the New World, and as for equivalent exchange, she will bear the price. That is the last of the memories Anaxa was able to gather. While he tried, given he's not compatible with Kefali, he couldn't fuse their souls together. In any case, Anaxa was able to learn that in the old worlds, the Chrysos heirs too went on a flame chase journey, grabbed the core flames, and then became the gods of the new world. The same thing is happening now because Amphoreus' nature is cyclical. At Era Nova, the current Chrysos heirs will too become gods of the new world and reshape it. Castorice still says this does not help tell her where Thanatos is, but Anaxa corrects her as Polyxia mentioned her hometown being Styxia. Anaxa then gives her the Philosopher's Stone. Okay. Castorice then asks, what exactly did they just witness? And Anaxa says, those were Kefali's memories, who, as we know in the previous cycle, was cows. Xerxes then reveals she's aware that the stone he gave to Castorice was made using his heart, and as such, rebirth is no longer an option for him. To which Anaxa really couldn't care less, as if his theories are true, he can ascend to godhood and reshape the world. Back in the present, Castorice reiterates that the council wants the core flame of death to remove death from this world. Funnily enough, Castorice too wishes to remove death from this world, but for her own reasons. Nonetheless, Aglaia gives Castorice her blessings to go to Styxia, but given the city is surrounded by the River of Souls, getting in will be tough, but Aglaia says she'll make Cipher do it. The next day, we go on a walk with Castorice and learn of her past. An elder Ominous is talking to Castorice into being the executioner of Idonia, and so Castorice obliges and just begins putting everyone down. She eventually even puts down Ominous, her mother figure, who in her old age was just sort of begging to be put down like a dog. It was after her death, Castorice left Idonia to search for Thanatos.
Please, I'm begging you, just let me go. I don't want to die, please. I don't want mercy like this. Just let me go. I don't...
I hate these icy hands.
The Reaper has blessed your hands. Only you can grant them peace. Embrace death. Walk alongside it. Is that you, Castorice?
All of them have gone, heeding death's summon, crossing into their domain. I must go too. I don't fear it, just I have some regrets. Watching people leave this world again and again, it must be lonely for you. You must want to desperately embrace them before they go. I can't. These hands, they're too cold. But Big Sister Castorice, your hands are so warm. Just like anyone else's. So go on. Don't hold back.
Give me a warm hug.
Like these really be warm?
Yeah. Sad life. Castorice reveals she wants to give us a gift, but when she tries to give it to us, she notices it's gone, and all that remains is a note and a coin because Cipher stole it. But even worse than stealing material goods, Cipher then proceeds to steal the next 10 minutes of our lives as we try to find the kitty phantom thief. She eventually just reveals herself and her intentions for coming here. We get a flashback to Cipher and Aglaya's treasure room where the two discuss Cipher and her tendency to run away from her responsibilities and fate, which states, quote, "You shall walk with greed and die over petty change." Cipher just sort of, you're damn right I'm running. Anyway, the two then sort of make a bet. Cipher is betting that Castorice will change her mind and turn her back from seeking the Death Titan. If Cipher is right, she gets the room full of treasures. If she's wrong, she'll do what Aglaya says. So Cipher is here to convince Castorice to turn around, and even offers Aglaya's treasure room to her. Castorice sort of just says no, so Cipher now says she wants money from Castorice in exchange for her service, to which they make a deal that Cipher will get 80% of Castorice's savings. I mean, god damn, bro. Cipher then tucks us into bed, not a joke by the way, and the next morning we meet her at the city gates and she takes us to Styxia.
Get ready. Be steady. Hi, your turn. Don't be nervous. After all, it'll be gone in the blink of an eye. All done. Bye-bye.
Castorice reveals that when Cipher throws a coin into the air, she can run really fast. As we march forward, we see a lot of souls, and even learn some of these souls can see us, and they in particular hate living people, because a certain girl scammed him of his fish, and he then says the Netherrealm doesn't exist as the Titan has rejected them. Castorice releases the soul, but questions why Thanatos rejected them. It's then Cipher appears, and she reveals she lied and scammed a bunch of niggas here, because, you know, they're trapped, and, you know, they're being rejected by the Netherrealm, so why not spice up their life? We ask Cipher why she came back, and she says it's because she found traces of Midamos here. We march everlong and come across some soldiers who are preparing to fight against a calamity known as Death, meaning they lived in the era before the Titans of Calamity descended, the Era Chrysia. Styxia is currently being ravaged by an evil dragon that brings death. We ask him how the Queen and Princess are doing, but he gets reset to factory settings, so Castorice just releases him. We then get a flashback to the first time Castorice and Aglaia met, and it was because the council offloaded Castorice to Aglaia to act as her executioner. As we continue moving, Castorice drops a fucking nuke of an off comment stating Lady Hyacin's, the Chrysos heir bearing the core flame of Fagutia, is dead. Just sort of leaves it at that. After releasing more souls, we ask if Castorice still wants a world without death, and she says yes. And she's never been more firm in her convictions. Okay, let's see if it holds. We eventually come across a vault guard who's scared after seeing a certain man punching really hard. The man wonders if we're here to deal with Pollux, the evil dragon. He says the dragon is dead and that the curse called Death didn't originate from the dragon, but rather the girl inside the dragon. She is the true Reaper. Castorice asks where that girl is, and he says the queen brought her back to the castle. We get another Cass memory where Amunet tells Cass of the time when the queen of Styxia brought Castorice to her, signaling to us Castorice was the girl inside the dragon and is the true Reaper. Cass says she's no memory of this or Styxia. We then come across an alchemist who asks if we've heard of Pollux. He says he will make Pollux fly again and bring death back to this world. This confuses us, as we've been led to believe the dragon was the one who brought death to the worlds. The alchemist clarifies that while the girl inside the dragon can bring death to mortals, Pollux, the dragon itself, makes it so humans can't die. It's then Castorice figures out what's going on here. The reason all these people are trapped here is because when Pollux fell, they blocked the River of Souls. It's because of this the alchemist wishes to bring the dragon back to life, and he's prepared the matrix and the tower to do it, but he's missing the girl who lives with death, or Castorice. He then tells us to go and do it, and then we get a shot from the past showcasing the Queen of Styxia and Amunet. Apparently, the people of Styxia sought death to be freed from fate. In any case, they got what they wanted. Styxia fell, and now the Queen is here to give Amunet the girl from inside the dragon's belly, the Reaper, who Amunet names Castorice. We get jumped by the Black Tide creatures, who eventually themselves get jumped by Mighty. He says his death is temporary, and he's on his way back to the mortal world. We ask if Mighty wants to, take a detour and come with us to summon Thanatos, and he goes, yeah, sure, fuck it, why not? We then run into Trian, who gives us a hand-drawn picture and, pieces out. Mighty, too, is ready to peace out, as the Black Tide must still be fought, but before going, Castorice relays Anaxa's findings to him, that she and he will be reborn as Titans of Calamity in the next cycle. This is all overheard by Cipher, who chose to stick around, meaning all 3 Titans of Calamity are aware of their fates. He couldn't care less and says he'll fight fate like hell, and pieces out. We then look at the Matrix, and with Castorice intent on going through with this, Cipher leaves. Castorice recaps, she and Polyxia were the twins of death in the old cycle. The trial of death involves taking the life of your family, and Castorice was the one who died during the trial, and as a result, her sister became Thanatos in this new world. Deeply saddened by Castorice's death, Polyxia used the Titan's authority to reforge her sister's soul, but because of this, she has been hidden away from this world because the Titan she became, Pollux, died at the start and is now in the River of Souls, blocking people from moving on in the next world. This is why Thanatos has been so hard to find. So we gotta reawaken Pollux and bring death back to the world while also retrieving the core flame, and we can only do this by recreating the dragon's body with alchemy. Castorice figures the reason Pollux's soul still lingers is due to the heavy price it paid to bring Castorice back and send her to Styxia, a land that welcomed death. It wants to know how Castorice is doing. We do the ritual and Amunet appears, because, fuck it, why not? She does do something important, however, which is teach Castorice the meaning of death. Without death, things cannot be cherished as they can be revisited endlessly. During the Era Chrysia, the age before death descended, and also where the council wishes to bring the people back to, people did not live, they just existed. Castorice then, just comes to a sudden realization, damn, death really is great, who doesn't love death? Anyway, now Castorice says she won't take death away from this world, because no one, not even the Death Titan, has the right to make that choice. And also because her prior conviction was as hard as fucking cotton candy.
My teacher, Anaxa, grant me the wisdom of all things. I call upon thee, the stripped dead dragon's corpse. Rises from the earth, falls from the sky. As above, so below. This is the greatest power of all powers. Unstoppable in this world. The great work that commands all death. I shall grant you embrace. O death, sleep in peace.
Anyway, we fight Pollux, win, and Castorice asks Pollux if it remembers her. She then asks Pollux to take her to the Nether Realm where the core flame of death is, and I guess this is a yes? Castorice is now in the Nether Realm with Polyxia. Castorice asks her what happened in the last Era Nova, so Polyxia obliges. Long ago, a pair of twins were chosen to be the successors of the god of death via a prophecy. The price for this, however, was one of them had to die through the other's hands. Castorice voluntarily gave up her own life so that Polyxia would become the demigod of death. Polyxia nonetheless hated this, so in the next cycle when she was reshaping the world, she recreated her sister's soul, and Polyxia would then take the form of Pollux and carry her out the Nether Realm into the mortal realm, but boy, fate was not too pleased with this. You see, when someone dies and meets Thanatos, it goes like this. If the Reaper's left hand goes up, the soul is allowed to enter the Nether Realm and await reincarnation. If the Reaper's right hand goes up, the soul is rejected entry into the Nether Realm, and back to the mortal world it goes. This is why Castorice could only send people to the Nether Realm and not embrace them normally. She was the left hand of death. Death used to be a pair of hands, but when Pollux carried Castorice to the mortal worlds, they became separated because Pollux died, and as a result, Castorice, the left hand of death, wound up bearing the curse to grant humans death, as she represented life, the ability to send people to the Nether Realm. Polyxia represented death and the touch of life. She died the instant she entered the mortal world as Pollux. That's why Thanatos has been missing 1,000 years. It ceased to exist in Amphoreus, and when it died, souls were constantly being denied entry to the Nether Realm because all that existed was the right hand of Thanatos. Polyxia Desires gave Castorice the curse of the touch of death and broke the cycle of life and death on Amphoreus. What we're speaking to now is Thanatos' reason left in the Nether Realm, who's just been planting flowers ever since. Polyxia apologizes, but Castorice just goes, hey, you didn't do nothing wrong. They keep speaking and speaking of fucking Professor X, this one is, huh? Castorice then tells Polyxia she need no longer share this burden alone. The Trailblazer will carry the core flame out of here, thus fixing the cycle of death in Amphoreus, and then Castorice and Pollux can tend to these flowers together, as Castorice states she will forever remain in the Nether Realm.
I will bring rest to death, and from now on, stagnant life will once again flow.
Back with Anaxa and Xerxes, 15 days has passed, so it's Anaxa's last day on Earth, and also the time in which the citizens' assembly is happening. Anaxa reveals that the key to his theory of a cyclical Amphoreus is Castorice and Polyxia reuniting, given they've lived through more than one cycle. He then heads to the assembly, but runs into Phainon, who's going to be speaking for Team Chrysos heirs. Phainon gives a heartfelt speech, and the current status of the votes to suspend the Flame Chase journey is dead even, with just Anaxa yet to vote. He steps up and begins to make a fucking speech! He's waffling, waiting for confirmation from Castorice, but, it's still funny. Even Xerxes pokes fun at the situation. Anaxa then willingly slips into the nether realm, and then meets or gets a lost memory of empanadas. What the fuck ever, bro.
Professor, I completed the proof you wanted.
Thank you, Castorice.
The answer is plain as day. My vote goes to the Flame Chase journey and nothing else.
Elder Kindness, I have deciphered the truth of this world.
Aquinas is pissy that the Flame Chase journey will continue. Anaxa does not care for her opinion, and while he voted for the Flame Chase journey to continue, begins questioning those who voted for it, why they voted for it. Will the Era Nova promised by it truly bring about a better world? Putting even Phainon and Aglaia on the spot, but Anaxa says while they can't promise it, he can, because Phainon is going to succeed Kefali and recreate each and every single one of them in the new world using his perfect memory, because the Titans of today were the Chrysos heirs of the last cycle, and the current Chrysos heirs will be the Titans of the next cycle in the Era Nova. Their souls will go on forever, and all under Kefali's protection will enter the new world. The crowd is shocked. Kindness is angry, but Anaxa immediately shuts her up. He says he knows all this because he experimented on Kefali's body with the help of the Council of Elders, an act of blasphemy for which he no doubt deserves death. Kindness turns to Lygus, who tells her to get fucked before he asks Aglaia to mete out punishment. She decides Lygus and Kindness will have to face investigation, whilst Anaxa will be put to death. Back to the Trailblazer, we're in the Netherrealm with Castorice, who confirms she's now the demigod of death and will open the gate of the Netherrealm to allow us to get back to the mortal world and take with us in tow the core flame of death. As we leave, we hear and see the whole gang. I say hear, but, As we leave, though, we even see Acheron in some unknown female voice.
All of this is proof that you once lived. Your soul, your memories, the years you've journeyed through, and the path they revealed, leading you back home. So, continue onward. Do not stop moving forward, and do not let her sacrifice and the support of all who have stood by you be in vain. Over here, friend!
I wonder who that is.
The other shore is very cold. May I borrow your warmth? One last time. Thank you for fulfilling this wish of mine. The place I'll be going to is what humans call the Land of Sorrows. But with this heartbeat and the residual heat of this embrace, I shall turn the Netherrealm into a gentle place of rest. This embrace may be brief, but it's the proof that I once lived. Farewell, then. May we reunite in the new world.
At the Vortex of Genesis, Anaxa and Aglaia find common ground as they speak of Phainon's future, and the fact that only he can defeat the last great enemy in Aquila, the Sky Titan. Aglaia allows Anaxa to resonate with her core flame, where he sees just but a tiny sliver of her soul left and calls her insane for trudging on. Phainon and friends then show up, we submit the core flame of death, and Anaxa is now ready to die. Phainon wonders why Anaxa is going through with this. Even though he'll become the god in the next worlds, he'll have no memories, so why do it? Anaxa says he'll still have his brilliant mind. He then answers the question of what we as mortals are, and says we are the essence of the worlds, and the soul are the seeds that hold each records of each person's memories of the worlds, and who we simply are is the tree sprouted from that bud. People are extensions of the worlds, and as such, to destroy the person, you must destroy the worlds, but even then, someone will remember. In that case, that one will be the worlds-bearing titan, who will be Phainon. Xerxes then pops up and says, hey, congrats, you passed the trial, and gives him his death prophecy.
You shall transcend the peaks of purity and return to corruption and hardship.
Oh, so that's a god's prophecy. It sounds like you just rephrased my past, present, and future. Oh, Xerxes. Is that all you've got?
Well, you've already transcended the peaks of purity, and you were never the type to give me any leeway.
Xerxes then asks one final question to Anaxa. If all we in the worlds are living through memories, then how did the worlds originally come to be? And Anaxa says he's absolutely no idea.
Rejoice, Xerxes. I sow the seeds of suspicion in the new world with your soul!
And now, the objective is complete. That is all.
A fucking legend. We're now with Himiko and Black Swan, who hypothesizes that March 7th's memories have been hijacked. Black Swan then says someone who loses the ability to remember will turn to nothing, hence the ice crystals. Himiko then presses Black Swan on why she really wanted to come to Amphoreus, to which Black Swan relents. It's because some memo keepers view Amphoreus as a perfect example, and if they uncover the secret of Amphoreus, they could remodel other worlds to mimic Amphoreus. So Black Swan is here to stop those nefarious individuals. They are a group under Fuli who have the ability to hijack March 7th's memories. Black Swan urges the need for cooperation, but is cut short when she realizes that Fuli the Remembrance just gazed at Amphoreus. We then swap to the Herda, who's decided to go to Amphoreus in astral form. She's currently at the Vortex of Genesis and spots black-tide creatures, the Trailblazer and Dawn Hung, and even the Flame Reaver. As she continues forward, she's then stopped by Lygus, who says she cannot go further. As she asks Lygus who he is, but he says he cannot answer that. They are currently at the entrance of Amphoreus, but with that said, Herda must now leave. But Herda states that she's no reason to listen to him, which he says he anticipated, but once again asks her to leave. She says, what if she doesn't? And so, Lygus presents to her 3 possibilities.
There are 178,244 logic chains at my disposal to convince you. After filtering through them, I have determined that I only require 3 to attain the results that I desire.
Oh? I'm all ears.
First, for reasons that cannot be disclosed, Amphoreus is a completely isolated celestial body. Apart from me, no one else will be able to help you enter.
That's not a good argument.
Second, if your plan is, as you've alluded to previously, to force me into cooperating by showing hostility, do know that, just like you, I have basked in the gaze of the erudition. I stake my honor and assure you that, in the worst case scenario, our mutual destruction will be inevitable.
Oh, no wonder I couldn't find a back door. When I did a scan of our surroundings, the safety protocols on you are comparable to Screwy's. How interesting.
I assume that you still wish to hear the third logic chain?
Of course. Why wouldn't I?
Third, even if you exhaust all your means and find a way to break through, you will surely give up once you understand the consequences of your actions. After all, throughout your long life, as much as you'd hate to admit, your conscience has played a crucial role.
What a brazen robot. You think that you can actually understand me through your paltry calculations? But since you put it that way, why don't you tell me what these consequences will be?
It concerns the third path that is entangled with Amphoreus. A path that you and your friends still very much lack understanding of. The destruction. So, if you ignore my warnings and persist in your ways, you will break the shackles of a Lord Ravager. And when that happens, their fury will engulf the cosmos.
Now let's keep some things in mind. In order to ensure that he and Herta fight in a way that's mutually destructive, he needs to have power matching that of Herta, meaning he has to have power at least that of an Emanator. And as for what a Lord Ravager is, that's another Emanator, one who serves under Nanook, the Eon of Destruction.